6:23 a.m. Room 247, Memorial Hospital. A 78-year-old man is dying, and his daughter hasn't left his side in 46 hours. She's exhausted, terrified, watching the only parent she has left slip away, and she has no idea what comes next. In 3 minutes, someone will walk through that door who understands death better than most people understand life. Someone who's witnessed over 2,000 people take their final breath. Someone whose job it is to make the unbearable bearable. This isn't about medicine. This isn't about cures. This is about something far more complex and infinitely more human. This is the story of Sarah Chen, hospice nurse. And what she does in the space between hope and goodbye will challenge everything you think you know about healthcare, courage, and what it means to truly care for another human being. Meet Sarah Chen, 41 years old, registered nurse specializing in hospice and palliative care. For 12 years, she's worked for Serenity Hospice Services, serving a 50-mile radius of families facing the most difficult moments of their lives. Her caseload? 22 patients, 22 families, 22 different stories of love, loss, fear, and hope. While other nurses work to save lives, Sarah works to honor them. Her job description includes pain management, medication administration, wound care, and patient education. But that's not really what she does. What Sarah actually does is walk into rooms filled with the heaviest emotions humans can experience and somehow make space for grace. She teaches families how to say goodbye. She helps children understand why grandma isn't getting better. She shows spouses how to let go of someone they've loved for 50 years. She administers morphine for physical pain and presence for everything else. Every day, Sarah carries a bag that weighs 15 pounds. Medical equipment, medications, wound care supplies, oxygen monitors. But the real weight she carries can't be measured on any scale. She carries the moment when 34-year-old Jennifer Morrison asked, "How do I tell my 8-year-old that mommy isn't coming home?" She carries the sound of Vietnam veteran Thomas Bradley calling out for his wife Mary, who died 3 years ago. She carries the memory of 17-year-old Marcus Williams, who wanted to know if dying would hurt. Most nurses deal with medical crises. Sarah deals with existential ones. On the morning of September 15th, Sarah received an urgent call. Robert Martinez, 78 years old, former high school math teacher, had taken for the worse. His daughter Carmen hadn't slept in 2 days, trying to manage his pain while wrestling with decisions no child should have to make. When Sarah arrived at the Martinez home, she found what she's seen hundreds of times before: a family drowning in the complexity of death. Medical equipment they didn't understand, medications with schedules that seemed impossible, insurance questions that felt overwhelming, and underneath it all, the terrible weight of watching someone you love disappear a little more each day. Robert was conscious but struggling. Carmen was at her breaking point. The rest of the family stood around, uncertain, afraid to leave, afraid to stay. This is where most people would see a tragedy. Sarah saw an opportunity to transform how a family experiences the most significant moment of their lives together. She set down her medical bag and did something that isn't in any nursing textbook. She sat down. For the next hour, Sarah didn't administer medication or check vital signs. She asked questions no one else had thought to ask. "Robert, what's the most important thing you want Carmen to know? Carmen, what's the one story about your father you want to make sure we all remember? Who should we call, not for medical reasons, but because they need to be here?" Sarah wasn't managing Robert's death. She was orchestrating his final chapter. What happened over the next 6 hours wasn't medical care in any traditional sense. It was something more like ministry. Sacred work performed by someone who's learned that dying well is as important as living well. Sarah helped the family understand Robert's symptoms, not as failures of medicine, but as natural parts of a process that connects every human being. She taught them how to read his breathing, how to position him for comfort, how to recognize the signs that he was ready to let go. But more than that, she gave them permission to grieve while he was still alive, permission to say the things they'd been too afraid to say, permission to tell him it was okay to go. At 2:47 p.m., Robert Martinez died, surrounded by 4 generations of his family. His granddaughter was reading him his favorite poem. His wife of 52 years was holding his left hand. Carmen was holding his right. And Sarah was there, quietly documenting the medical details while witnessing one of the most profound moments any family ever shares. 20 minutes later, she drove to her next patient. This is what hospice work really looks like. It's not just about end-of-life care, it's about end-of-life dignity. It's not just about pain management, it's about fear management, grief management, family management. It's not just about medical expertise, it's about emotional archaeology, helping families uncover what really matters in the time they have left. Sarah makes $32 an hour to do work that most people couldn't handle for 32 minutes. She witnesses more human suffering in a month than most people see in a lifetime. She holds space for conversations about mortality that make everyone uncomfortable. She watches families fall apart and helps them put them back together. And every single day, she chooses to come back.
When I asked Sarah why she does this work, her answers surprised me. She said, people think hospice is about death, but it's actually about life. It's about making sure that the last chapter of someone's story is written with love, dignity, and intention, instead of fear and confusion. Every family I work with teaches me something about what it means to be human, about courage I didn't know existed, about love that transcends physical presence. I don't just wipe away tears. I wipe away the terror of facing death alone and unprepared. Here's what most people don't understand about hospice care. It's not giving up. It's shifting focus from adding days to life to adding life to days. It's not about dying. It's about living fully in whatever time remains. And the people who do this work, hospice nurses, social workers, chaplains, home health aides, they're not angels of death, they're angels of dignity. Right now, there are over 1.5 million Americans receiving hospice care. Behind each of those statistics is a family learning how to navigate the most difficult experience of their lives. And there are approximately 200,000 hospice workers helping them do it with grace. These aren't just healthcare workers. They're grief counselors, family therapists, spiritual guides, and medical experts all rolled into one. Maybe you've never thought about hospice care. Maybe death makes you uncomfortable. Maybe you can't imagine choosing to work so closely with endings. But someday, you or someone you love will need exactly what Sarah provides. You'll need someone who understands that dying isn't a medical failure. It's a human experience that deserves expertise, compassion, and dignity. When that day comes, you'll discover that hospice workers are some of the most skilled, empathetic, and courageous healthcare professionals you'll ever meet. If Sarah's story opened your eyes to what hospice work really looks like, share it with someone who might need to understand that end-of-life care isn't about giving up hope. It's about redefining what hope looks like. If you know a hospice nurse, social worker, or aide, take a moment to acknowledge the emotional weight they carry every day. Tell them their work matters. Tell them they matter. And if you are a hospice worker watching this after a difficult shift, remember Sarah's words. You're not just providing medical care. You're providing sacred care. You're helping families transform their most feared experience into something meaningful, connected, and ultimately healing. You're not just wiping away tears. You're wiping away terror. And that makes you a different kind of hero entirely. Subscribe to The Quiet Brave for more stories about the people who show up for us in our most vulnerable moments. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that might change how you see the heroes working in the shadows. And remember, some of the most important work in the world happens in quiet rooms, with gentle hands and voices that know exactly what to say when there are no words. This is The Quiet Brave. The heroes who help us through our darkest hours deserve to be seen, celebrated, and supported.